Hey everyone, welcome back to Go Kick Me, your favorite crowdfunding news and reviews channel here on YouTube. So today we're going to talk about an Indiegogo project called the Matrix Power Watch 2. This is a self-powering smartwatch fundraising project. These guys are in the prototype stage, I believe. So this is pretty early on. I mean, they don't have it's not one of those ones where they're just trying to get enough money to buy the minimum order and ship it out the door because it's all done. Looks like they're still working on it. But it is a real thing, so let's talk about it. So first of all, they've raised like $1 million, which is way over their goal, 1,000%. So that's good. Let's talk about the watch a little bit. Basically, it's a digital watch, smart digital watch, whatever. I think nowadays, everything's got Bluetooth. It can talk to your phone, and you can have an app running on there that can manage stuff. I don't know what makes a smartwatch smart nowadays. But basically, yeah, it's like a big face watch. But inside, it has some special technology. So, this thing can self-power. So, two ways it self-powers. One is it has a solar cell under the watch face, which I'll talk about in a second. And the second is, on the back, it basically has a thermoelectric generator, which is like a real thing. So let me explain how that works. Basically, it takes heat, or at least a temperature differential, and heat energy turns it into electrical energy. So it's a real thing. This is what it looks like. Basically, the Seebeck Effect, which is also used in thermocouples. Basically, you're turning heat into, as I mentioned, electrical energy. So it's a real thing. It's been around for a long time. It's actually used in the radio isotope thermoelectric generators used in the Curiosity. I don't know, remember which one. Basically, some of those Mars rovers use this kind of stuff. Yeah, Curiosity rover. They use like radioactive stuff to create the temperature, the heat. And so, obviously, in a cold place like Mars, there's a big temperature differential. They've also been looking into using it to sort of pick up parasitic energy otherwise lost as thermal energy in cars and also on solar cells. So basically, solar cells will convert solar radiation into electricity, but then they also heat up. So they're like, okay, can we make our solar cells more efficient by taking some of that waste heat and turning it into extra electricity? So those are some cases where it's used. Anyway, let's talk a little bit more about the watch. So yeah, it can do your normal smartwatch stuff. Hypothetically, you never need to charge it. Apparently, this one is sealed and doesn't have any plug to charge in to. In their previous version, this is the PW2, the PW1. Apparently, you could put it on a heater charging stand to help charge it. I don't know if they do that on this one because this one is solar. So yeah, power, blah, 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 blah. Let's go to the part where they talk about the actual. Here we are. Here's what it looks like blown up. That's the solar cell, I guess, or that's the solar cell. So depending on, in this case, I think just the solar cell is this ring around the outside, and then the LED screen is in the background. But depending on the kind of watch you do, there actually are a lot of solar watches. Here's some solar watches which have a full-on face, but I guess the face lets the solar radiation in. So in this case, because they're mechanical, analog watch things, you don't have to worry about it covering up the whole thing. So it's not like digital. So this case, I guess the solar part is here, no solar here. In the case of this guy, no solar here, which is where the display is, and just solar on the outside. So, but yeah, these things have been around for a while. There's a bunch of them. All the companies have it now. Seiko, here's Eco Drive, Seiko Solar, etc. So those guys have, sort of got that going on for regular watches. Obviously, solar digital watches have been around a long time. I remember back in the day. Let's see, this one's not solar. This one is solar. But yeah, here's some other ones, right? Been around for quite a while, like me, I guess. I'm old. Is this one solar too? Yeah, this one's solar too. So these ones at least will top off the battery. I don't know if they'll extend it. If not, make it run forever. I guess they could if you leave in the sun long enough. So anyway, that's how this one works. This is that TEG. They've managed to make a fancy one that is enough to charge the battery. Because that was my first question with this. Is like, okay, is the heat energy created by a person, sort of in everyday use, enough to actually really run a whole watch off of? Or is it mostly getting the power from the solar, and the thermoelectric thing is kind of a gimmick? I guess that really depends on how much you're using and where you're using it. Definitely the solar cell probably generating, at least most of the time generating most of the energy. If you're running with it outside, of course your body temperature is up and the ambient temperature is down. Okay, maybe it's starting to create some more appreciable stuff. But if it's like 100 degrees outside and you're walking around with it and you're not, you might actually be cooler than the ambient air temperature. So maybe not. I don't know if this thing's smart enough. Maybe you could switch its polarity and charge the other way if you're the heat sink and not the heat generator. Anyway, so that's just sort of curiosity on my part about, is this thing the real deal? But in case you're worried that it doesn't actually exist, this is actually pretty funny. So some Canadian girl who's like a high school student won some innovation award. And so she developed, using the same kind of...
And to harvest the heat, I decided to use Peltier tiles. So if these are the tiles here...
So she basically made a flashlight, which is kind of a very...
And I would cool the other side, a small amount of electricity is produced. So in my case, I heat one side with either my forehead or my hand, and I cool the other side with this hollow aluminum tube.
So she's basically got a heatsink on the inside and using her hand there, and her thing is basically just 3 really small LEDs. But as you can probably see, this guy gets it going.
Alive.
Yes, that's great. And I also... Yes, that's great. It's only extremely
I appear
bright.
to be alive.
Yes, that's great.
So she says something.
Live, hopefully.
Yeah, anyway, so
additional solar
this is her
cell
second
on the
one.
side.
She's got a big one that you stick on your
also
forehead.
recharged unit, which looks like this.
And in her
So
case,
that's kind of the light I would get.
she has solar cells on there and a battery. So it's actually very the same kind of thing they're working on for the PW2. She basically invented their same, charging system 4 years ago, and she's a high school student. But obviously, I'm sure her thing is a lot bigger, and the solar cells are a lot bigger.
Okay, and if I use the heat directly from my head, that would look something like that. Is it working?
Yes.
Am I alive? So people with hot heads.
I guess hypothetically, she switched off the solar part or the batteries.
For all this.
I'm half Filipino, so I have some friends back in the Philippines, and I was talking with one of...
Okay, so that's how someone named Anne Makosinski looks like this. She's half Filipino. I was curious. She doesn't look very Polish, but I guess she's half. Anyway, cool kid. Great she won. She's probably 21 by now, so she's probably ready. She's probably ready to go work on this full time or get into grad school, whatever. So great job, Anne. Anyway, back to the watch. So, yeah, one of the things that first thing that popped in mind is, of course, self-winding watches, mechanical watches, has been around for, generations, centuries now. And that's obviously, in the case where you're running, that's where the most power is actually coming to sort of self-wind the watch. So the question is, could you make a electric charging version using a suspended mass and some piezoelectric stuff, or some kind of mechanical winding, use basically an electric generator and have the thing spin around just like the spring winding does on a self-winding mechanical watch. Would that be more efficient? I think people have done similar stuff like that before. But, the question is also size. Is this thing lighter? Is it better? Is it faster? I think the solar is probably doing most of it again. And the self-winding thing, I don't know. It's definitely heavier, right? So anyway, what do I think about it? $200. I think they had a super early bird special, which was cheaper. Now, because they've raised so much, 250 is the cheapest one. Is that true? I guess the other ones have disappeared. That's the way Indiegogo works sometimes, if you have that selected. So yeah, it looks like it's a real watch. Could be a real watch. Like I said, prototype stage. From the video I saw at CES, it's not quite done yet, but they have working prototypes going. Some really whiny people talking about, why don't you put a barometer on there? I don't know if I mentioned, but they do acknowledge here, somewhere in here, that the GPS, oh yeah, this guy missed it, yeah. The GPS thing only works for, yeah, this guy is the one that reviews it, I think. The GPS only works for like 2.5 hours. So what does that mean? Okay, I gotta watch this stupid ad is what that means. This is the kind of ads we see here in Hong Kong, by the way, on YouTube. So 2.5 hours is how long it can work if you're basically using the fitness tracker to check your GPS and track your stuff full time. So I think this is one prototype and the second prototype.
Works. If I turn it over, you can
this
see
is probably the non-functioning one. This is the functioning
one.
one.
This flat portion here is where it takes heat.
Yeah, that's your heart rate sensor.
From your wrist, from your body, and converts it into energy. And the same concept displayed right here on this heat sink. So you could basically essentially press the
So yeah, they have some
a lot of menus to go through,
working prototypes, but this is not quite this.
There we go.
This is non-functional one, I guess. Looks kind of big. People like these big clunky watches. Anyway, so let's talk about what 2.5 hours means. That means you can't run a full marathon unless you're super awesome on one charge. But then hypothetically, it's still charging while you're going. So maybe it's a really sunny day, it'll last 3 hours. I don't know. But basically, they're saying like, you know, using GPS sort of kills your battery. So the internal battery plus whatever charging, definitely not enough to last long enough. They want it to last long enough for people to do like ultra marathons, which are like whatever, 100 kilometers, or super ultra, whatever, 200 kilometer type ones. But that's really pushing it. So in that case, you basically need to be able to charge not only to run the watch, but then to run the GPS on the energy generated just from the solar and the thermoelectric. So the question is, you know, can you generate however much that is, whatever, 200 milliwatts, 300 milliwatts? Can you get that much out of just those two sources? If you make the watch big enough, maybe it does. But right now, it doesn't. So, you know, that's a big thing if you're big into tracking your GPS. They're not quite there yet. If you want to be an early adopter, use it for everyday use or for like normal human non-marathoner running, probably fine. So anyway, this guy talks a lot about that stuff.
And have reasonably good GPS tracks. Not fantastic, but really good for most ultra runners. That'd be just fine.
So anyway, yeah, this guy is the one who sort of got some hands-on stuff. Cool. So what do I think? If you want to be an early adopter, try it out. Doesn't seem like it's too much of a smartwatch to me. It looks like more like just a fitness tracker enabled regular digital watch. It does have an app which can download all the info. That's good. I guess it has a GPS, so it's got to be kind of smart. Interfaces with an app. It's definitely not going to be as good as the one made by the watch company. You know, or I should say, the watch made by the cell phone company. Obviously, they can sort of build in its functionality into the mobile operating system a lot better. The other big thing to keep in mind is, you know, $1 million is nice, but to develop a full, you know, consumer electronics product, I've been talking too much, on just a million or a few million is really pushing it. So they've gotten kind of far, but have they gotten far enough? Are they going to be updating, you know, the firmware and whatnot over the time? Are they going to keep supporting this? Is this a flash in the pan? Are they going to be a year late? Keep that in mind. They're saying that they're going to have this thing out by June. That's a good 5 months away, but still, you know, things happen. So just keep in mind that you are supporting a cause and not pre-ordering. It's not it's not e-commerce, it's not mail order. I'm totally losing my voice. I'm going to wrap it up here. But yeah, buyer beware. You are backing a project. You are not buying one of these things. So if it never comes out, actually it's the exact same graphic in the video, so that's definitely the dummy. Just keep that in mind. This thing is not really working as you see here right now. So in the demonstration, you had to push the button to light up. It's like one of those old Indiglo type watches. Keep that in mind. Okay, so before I lose my voice completely, I'm going to give this one a neutral. Beware. Support it if you want. Don't expect to get it in June. Okay, so that's it for today. Check us out on Facebook and Twitter at GoKickMe and sign up for our newsletter at GoKickMedia.com. I promise I'll start doing newsletters sooner or later. But in the meanwhile, sign up now so that when we do, I can keep you up to date more often. Okay, see you guys later. Bye.